Hey everybody. So one of the biggest names on the trade market in the NHL was dealt late last night as Taylor Hall, along with Curtis Lazar, was traded from the Buffalo Sabres to the Boston Bruins in exchange for forward Anders Bjork and a second-round draft pick. Now, as a pessimistic Bruins fan, I have very mixed feelings about this trade, but I am going to break it down piece by piece and give my full thoughts on this deal in this video. Before we begin, I just ask you to please subscribe and hit that thumbs up if you haven't yet. It really helps the channel and is greatly appreciated. But let's take a look at this and talk about why I have such mixed feelings about it. So first, something that I really like about it. The Bruins did not give up a whole lot to get Taylor Hall. The cost here, I think, well worth it for the Boston Bruins from just the cost at a face value, where they didn't have to give up a first-round pick. They didn't have to give up a high-end prospect like a Jack Studnicka or a John Beecher or anyone like that. What they gave up, I think, was really not much that was going to hurt Boston. I mean, Anders Bjork, I have been ready to move on from for 2 years now, so I am perfectly fine with them trading Anders Bjork. He's just not becoming the player that he was expected to be out of college. He's never going to be the player that he was expected to be. I think he'll always kind of be a fringe third-line type guy, but, you know, some teams he'd be in the lineup, other teams he wouldn't. I don't think he's ever going to be anything more than that. So I am perfectly fine with Anders Bjork being sent away in this deal. The second-round pick, not as fond of that, but, you know, you were going to have to give something up, you know, something meaningful up to get Taylor Hall, obviously, and, the second, you know, it's better than a first. The second-round pick is clearly better than giving up a first. So it is what it is. But the thing that I don't like about this deal and why I'm kind of have such mixed feelings about it and skeptical of it is because I didn't want the Bruins to make this kind of deal at all. I really didn't want them to go out and get rental players because I don't think it really changes anything in Boston. Like, this team still isn't good enough, in my opinion, to beat the best teams around the league. I don't see them getting past other top teams. And if you're not going to win the cup this year, why are you mortgaging your assets and giving away assets for the future to just not win the cup? It reminds me a lot of 2018 when they went out and they got Rick Nash and they gave up, Ryan Lindgren and a first-round pick, and they gave up all these assets for Rick Nash, and then they just still lost in the second round. And if you're the Boston Bruins, wouldn't you have much rather kept Ryan Lindgren? Wouldn't you have much rather kept that first-round pick? Now, hindsight is 2020, obviously, but it's kind of the same thing. Like, if you don't have a team that's a favorite to win the cup, I really don't think it's worth going out and getting rental players. But at the same time, the cost was a lot lower than I thought it was going to be. So can't complain too much because they aren't giving up that first-round pick. They aren't giving up their top prospects. So and I really like the addition of Curtis Lazar as well. That's a sneaky little throw in there for the Bruins. Curtis Lazar is definitely an upgrade on the fourth line over anyone that Boston has playing on their fourth line right now. I mean, better than Corrali, better than Wagner, better than Bleed. I like Curtis Lazar as an upgrade on that fourth line quite a bit. So, again, I have very mixed feelings about this because I don't think it's the kind of move that is going to drastically change anything for the Bruins. Just like Taylor Hall going to Arizona didn't drastically change anything for the Arizona Coyotes last year. They won their qualifying round. They barely got into the playoffs. They won their qualifying round series against a down-and-out Nashville team, and then they got absolutely spanked by Colorado in the first round. And I think it's going to be a similar thing for Boston where, it doesn't really drastically change anything for them. Maybe they win a round, then they'll lose in the second round. Maybe they lose in the first round. I don't think it's anything that puts them over the top. Now, Boston, I do think when they're healthy is better than the Arizona Coyotes, but I don't think Taylor Hall is that kind of player that drastically changes a team. With the exception of his one MVP season with New Jersey, That's been the only time in his entire career where Taylor Hall has had like a franchise-changing effect. And that year was absolutely the outlier. In the rest of his career, he hasn't been. The other thing is that Taylor Hall is not a goal scorer. And Boston kind of needed a goal scorer. Taylor Hall's a playmaker. He is not a goal scorer. His goals scored versus goals expected for the last few years have not been very good. He's not a high-end finisher. With the exception of his MVP season, that one outlier year in New Jersey, he's never been a high-level goal scorer. He's never been a guy that puts the puck in the net a whole lot. So he's more of a playmaker and a play-driving winger than an actual goal-scoring finisher. And the Boston Bruins needed a finisher. They don't have anybody scoring goals well right now, for the most part, except for Brad Marchand and Patrice Bergeron. So, again, I have very mixed feelings about this. I'm still very skeptical of what Boston can do in the playoffs. I think Taylor Hall is a talented player, but not a franchise-changing guy. Not the kind of player that drastically changes a team. And we've seen that throughout his career. The Oilers were never really good with Taylor Hall in the lineup. New Jersey, the only year that they made the playoffs with Taylor Hall was his one outlier MVP season. When he went to Arizona, he didn't drastically change anything for Arizona, and then he went to Buffalo and didn't drastically change anything there. Actually got worse in Buffalo. So, I'm still very skeptical about it. But the one thing that I do like is the fact that the Bruins did not give up a whole lot to get him. I think that's what's in the Bruins' favor here, is that Anders Bjork was, to me, just a throwaway piece anyway. I wanted him out of here, so I'm perfectly fine with that. And the second round pick is what it is. It's better than a first. But Taylor Hall is now a Boston Bruin, and we'll see how it goes for the Bruins the rest of the season. I still don't think he's going to drastically change a whole lot for the Bruins. I still think they're going to make the playoffs and then be out in the first or second round, and it's all going to be for naught. But we'll see if they can make a deeper run or that and prove me wrong. They did in 2019, but I don't see them beating the top teams in the league this year. They've been way too inconsistent this season. But with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you want to further support the channel, links to our Patreon, merchandise store, donation link, and channel memberships also down in the description. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.